And thanks for staying with us. Protests at two college campuses in response to appearances by conservative speakers made headlines this week. One at NYU, the other at UC Berkeley, where the free speech movement all began back in October 1964. That was Jack Weinberg you see here. He was volunteering to register African-American voters at a UC Berkeley table. Police asked him for his ID. He refused. They arrested him. Weeks later, thousands protested on campus, and they did it again and again.
You've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all.
The iconic Mario Savio there. Since then, Sproul Plaza has seen uncountable spontaneous student gatherings. Then in 1989, this, on the 25th anniversary of the free speech movement start, a 6-inch circle of soil right there, surrounded by a 6-foot circle of granite. The inscription on it, this soil and the airspace extending above it shall not be a part of any nation and shall not be subject to any entity's jurisdiction. A symbolic free speech airspace, similar to ones now across the country's universities and colleges, like at UMass Amherst and Stanford and Penn State. Fast forward to this past Wednesday when angry and destructive demonstrations broke out at UC Berkeley ahead of a speech by the controversial Breitbart News editor Milo Yiannopoulos. At NYU, it was in response to actor, comedian, and Vice Media co-founder Gavin McInnes. That brings us to our third Pulse question of the day for you. Agree or disagree? College campuses are intolerant of conservative viewpoints. Log on to pulse.msnbc.com/America. And joining us right now to discuss that, Liz Diebold, did I get that right? Democratic strategist, and we also have Evan Siegfried, GOP strategist. We were talking for so long, I didn't bother to ask you if I pronounced your last name properly. Evan, answer that question for me. Are college campuses intolerant of conservative viewpoints?
I think they're getting to be. You know, when we're seeing this safe space movement where if somebody says something that triggers someone and they can't tolerate it, and they have to feel very safe and protected, it's counter to the idea of college itself. College is about finding alternative viewpoints that you might not agree with, but being able to understand and discuss them. Take Johnson v. Texas, the famous Supreme Court case from the 80s, which ruled that the American flag being burned is protected free speech. As a conservative, I personally hate somebody burning the American flag, but I will fight to the death for somebody's right to do that. And I think colleges need to take that more to heart.
Liz, what do you think on that question?
I have to disagree. I mean, let's be clear about something. We're not talking about free speech. We're talking about hate speech. Milo Yiannopoulos is someone who was kicked off of Twitter because he so shamed Leslie Jones when she was in the new Ghostbusters movie. I mean, this is not the hate speech is not protected by the Constitution. And this is not someone who should be given a platform under any circumstances. If you're talking about someone who is looking to incite others to hatred, it's not something that we should be supporting on college campuses.
You're both voices of the millennial, if you will, the millennials, and I want to bring up a Pew study from 2015 that found 4 in 10 millennials say the government should be able to prevent people publicly making statements that are offensive to minority groups. Are people getting a little bit too sensitive these days? When you look at that number, what do you take away from it, Liz?
I think that it's clear that, look, millennials, in response to the Trump presidency, we've seen protest and action, unprecedented levels of protest and action, and we should be hearing that, and we should be, in our college campuses, should be reflecting that desire to reflect our American with the speakers who are invited onto campuses.
Quickly to you, Evan.
I would say that there's hate speech and then there are hate actions. It's great to go out and protest and organize and get involved in a political cause, be it on the right or the left. But when you go out and you riot and commit violence, that is absolutely wrong. Milo Yiannopoulos is a despicable human being, but he has the right to be heard and present an alternative viewpoint. If you can't stomach it, you don't deserve to even listen.
But if he's a despicable human being, why is he given the platform to share such despicable thoughts? I mean,
so you can understand alternative views. So you can understand alternative views and have a lesson from it. You can say, okay, this guy says X, Y, and Z, which I find completely offensive, but I am now listening to it and I disagree with it. There's understanding and disagreeing.
It's so extreme that an alternative view is not even the right way to describe it. I mean, again, a person who's been banned from Twitter, should not be allowed.
There are colleges that have had protests over the cultural appropriation of algebra from ancient Babylon. It's getting a little too much hyper and oversensitive.
I'm going to close with just a yes or no answer. Donald Trump said because of these UC Berkeley protests and the violence that happened there, he's going to pull funding. Yes or no, should he do that?
Absolutely wrong.
Absolutely not.
All right. Thank you so much. Spirited conversation. Both friendly folks. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Evan. Have a good Super Bowl Sunday. There is still time to make your voice heard on this very topic. Agree, disagree. College campuses are intolerant of conservative viewpoints. Log on to pulse.msnbc.com.